Yes.
So yesterday we had completed this particular topic about whenever we are entering the market to buy anything, either consciously or unconsciously, we follow these things. What are those things? We first check the price of the good. We check if that price fits into our budget or not, and then we also check whether the product is long lasting or not, isn't it? Then
Yes.
we say whether we also check whether this product is actually useful to us, or even if we do not buy, we can cope up, it is not much necessary. And while buying, we also check whether this product is durable or not, okay, or is it going to get spoiled within 2 or 3 days. All right, we have also seen the divisions of goods into three different categories based upon, first is perishable, durable, and which is the third category?
Consumable.
Consumable.
Consumable. So we had seen all these in the previous class. Now let us study further about the consumer behavior. Next page. All right. Sometimes a good or a product is very useful, or the person is in need for it so much that he or she is willing to pay a certain price of it. If the price of the seller is lower than the price, the extra money is called the consumer surplus. Okay, so now at times people are in so much of need to buy a good that they tend to buy that specific good even if they have to pay a certain price for it,
Fruits, vegetables, and food.
right? So if at all, if the price if the price of the seller is lower, okay, then the price of that specific commodity they tend to buy, and that is called as consumer surplus. Please underline this consumer surplus. You will get a question on what is a consumer surplus. Okay, in some cases, the idea of consumer surplus, please click on the word consumer surplus. Let's see what exactly does this mean. It means the difference between the price of a person willing to pay and the price he or she actually pays while purchasing a good. Okay, so what is consumer? So it is a difference between the actual price what the consumer wanted to pay and the price which he lands up paying. Okay, what if there is a difference at times, even if you go to a market to buy anything, and if you happen to buy certain thing in a very less price, what you do, you come at home and you show, okay, this particular product was for so and so, I bargained so well that I managed to buy this product in so and so price. So you got that consumer surplus, right? You try to manage your budget by bargaining. Next, you know what is bargaining, children?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, the things that mothers
Bargaining
are
means
best in.
Okay. They have where have you all seen people
And
bargaining?
usually
like,
in
ma'am, when the price
And
Usually
is
when the
usually in
seller
high place
increases the
market.
price.
Okay.
Mothers
I'm
mostly
in the
do this.
Okay.
high
So
price
now,
markets.
for example, a packet of table, salt, newspaper, matchbox, etc. These things are very useful, but are also very cheap. We are therefore prepared to pay much more price for them if need be. Then we actually have to pay, right? For example, certain commodities like what they have mentioned over here, for example, salt or a packet of table or a matchbox, these things are required in the daily life. So even if the prices of these commodities increase, we tend to pay that price. But why? Because we need that, right, in our day-to-day activities. From their purchase, therefore, we drive a good deal of surplus or extra satisfaction over and above the price that we pay for them. This is called as consumer's surplus. People are more likely to buy a good from a seller when they can get consumer surplus. For example, let us understand what is this consumer surplus exactly with the help of an example. If Raju is willing to pay 2000 rupees for a second hand mobile with a 2 megapixel camera, and the seller Prakash is selling his phone for 1500. Okay, so Raju's consumer surplus equals to the amount he is willing to pay minus the amount he actually landed up paying. Got it? He wanted to buy a phone of 2000. Okay, and the seller Prakash wanted to sell in how much price? 1500.
1500.
But he was mentally prepared to give how many, to spend 2000,
2000.
isn't it? But he landed, he just wanted to have a second hand phone which has the one feature of, which feature he wanted? 2 megapixel camera. So he has that feature, and whatever money he was about to pay, instead of paying 2000, he landed up paying 1500. So the 500 rupees which he could save with him is called as consumer surplus. Got it? Now understood, children?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Consumer surplus applies to products. It also applies to services. Hence, if a person is willing to hire a services of a driver for 15,000 per month, but he gets a driver for 12,000 per month, he has a consumer surplus of 3,000 per month.
Man, you can save that money.
Yeah, so it is not that this will happen only with goods. This happens with services also. For example, if a person, same, let's take the same name. Okay, Raju, he wanted to hire a person, a driver for 15,000 rupees per month. But he actually gets a driver who is ready to work, do the same job for 12,000. So now Raju is saving how many money per month? 3,000 rupees.
3,000 rupees.
So this 3,000 rupees will be called as what?
Consumer surplus.
Consumer surplus. Okay. So underline this. Please, please underline. Oh, I forgot to ask you underline. Underline the example, the entire example of Raju and Prakash. Because only with the help of the example you will understand what exactly is consumer surplus. So, and then underline, this happens, consumer surplus happens even with services. It also applies to service. The first line. Yes. Over here, last paragraph, first line. It also applies to services. All right. And then underline the example related to services. Willing to hire, person willing to hire, yes. So now what is the formula to understand the consumer surplus? It is price the person is willing to pay minus the price the person actually paid. Okay. So whatever extra benefit the person gets in that is considered as consumer surplus. Have you all understood, children?
Yes, ma'am.
Now you all give
Yes,
me an
ma'am.
example.
Yes,
Did it happen with you all in your day-to-day activities? You wanted to buy something and you had the budget more, but you landed up buying the same thing with less budget.
And when we go with our mothers, we get it for less budget.
Okay. No, can you give one example with one specific commodity you wanted to buy for so and so price?
Ma'am, I have one commodity.
Yeah.
Ma'am, it happened with me yesterday only. My brother wanted to online order some toys for himself. We had a budget of about 2,200 to 2,500. But ma'am, the price was 1,999.
Okay. So, so how much money did he was considered would be considered as consumer surplus in this? If you calculate for your brother,
Ma'am, I have to
calculate
600.
how much money your brother could save.
601.
600.
601.
99 she said, na? So, Mario is calculating even that
601.
1 rupee. Okay.
601.
All right. Got it now? That means now you all understood what is the consumer surplus. Next page. Let's go on to the next page. Okay, let's solve the quiz. Let's see how many of you all will be able to answer. All right. Dash is the amount or quantity of a good or
Ma'am, we are doing the
service
CYP.
purchased by a consumer or a group of consumers at a given price.
Demand.
demand.
Ma'am, we have to write this in a notebook.
No. We have already done too many CYPs.
Yes, ma'am. Right.
While dash, the number of goods or services available for purchase.
Supply.
Supply.
Next, dash, the difference between the price of a person is willing to pay and the price he or she actually pays while purchasing goods.
Consumer surplus.
Consumer surplus.
Very good. Next, consumer surplus is equals to dash minus price actually paid.
Price person is willing to pay.
Okay. Next, consumer surplus is a dash of the welfare that people gain for consuming goods and services.
Measure.
Okay, give you all a big round of applause. Everybody was contributing and everybody got out of marks. Very good. Next page.
Ma'am, every 2 pages they have got a quiz, ma'am. Every 2 pages.
After every,
Done the chapter.
so consider the buyers of Rangoli during Diwali. Different people put different values on Rangoli. They have a different willingness to pay. Okay. For example, Tina, price willing to pay is 8, Sita 7, Ravi 6, Chetna 5, Bimla 4 and Mona 3. Okay, so different people have different budgets during Diwali time in which they are willing to pay for the Rangoli. Now let's see what happens further. While each of the people value the Rangoli packets differently, they each pay the same price, that is rupees 5. Okay, everybody is willing to pay a different amount, but everybody lands up paying one price. What is that one price which they pay?
5 rupees.
5 rupees.
Now, if you will see, consumer surplus is the difference between what the consumer is willing to pay and what they actually land up paying. Therefore, consumer surplus is a price willing to pay minus price paid. For example, let me take the example of Tina. How much money she was willing to pay for Rangoli?
8.
How much she landed up paying?
5.
She paid 5, Siddhi. Okay. And what is the consumer surplus did she get?
3.
Okay. Sita, consumer surplus?
2.
2. Good. Ravi, consumer surplus?
1.
Chetna?
0.
Okay. Bimla?
0.
Minus 1. Now she landed
Yes,
in a debt.
-1.
Mona?
2.
Two.
Minus
Okay.
2.
Ma'am,
Got
they
it?
couldn't even purchase it because they had less money.
No, it is not that they couldn't even purchase it. It is that what amount they were willing to pay, they had to pay 2 rupees extra than what was their will. Okay, it is not that they did not purchase. Everybody purchased in 5 rupees, but Mona was willing to pay only 3 rupees for Rangoli, and she landed up paying how many rupees? 5 rupees.
5.
Okay, so what will be the consumer surplus for Mona?
-2. -2.
Clear? Understood? Everyone?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Now consider the entire market of Rangoli with many buyers. The demand curve is smooth instead of steep. With an increase in price, the demand decreases. Take a look at the graph below that represent price on y-axis and demand on x-axis. Can you see? Price is being mentioned. Refer to your diagram, which is given in your textbook, children. Okay, y-axis, what do we have? What is marked on y-axis?
Price.
Price.
What is marked on x-axis?
Demand.
Demand. Okay, so now the basic rule is, if at all the price will increase, the demand will decrease. Agreed? If a
Yes,
commodity
ma'am.
is too expensive, you know, everybody will not be able to buy, right? The demand will decrease. Now let's see
Price
further.
decrease, demand increase.
Yes, let's see further what happens. Quantity of goods in hundreds. To calculate the value of consumer surplus, find the area of triangle highlighted. Okay, that means can you see a triangle highlighted?
Yes, ma'am.
With
Yes,
which
ma'am.
color it is highlighted?
Yellow.
Yellow color.
Yellow.
Okay? Now we have to calculate how much was the consumer surplus. Okay, for that we will have to find out the area of the triangle. All right, how are we going to do that? The area is equals to 5 base height. Can you see? 5 base height
Yes, ma'am.
is equals to 5 multiplied by 800 multiplied by 8. Can you see that?
Yes.
Refer to your graph, you will understand, children. Refer to your graph on
But
page.
ma'am, why 5? Because 5 is the price.
The current price is rupees 3. Can you see? The current price is rupees 3.
Then ma'am, why have they mentioned 5 base height?
Who will be able to tell this?
And
Why
because
have they mentioned 5 base height?
Rangoli's price was 5 rupees.
Yes, the Rangoli's price is 5 rupees. Okay, we are all considering the Rangoli's price. So 500 multiplied by 800 multiplied by 8 is equals to how much? 3,000.
3,200.
3,200.
What is 3,200? It is the area of the triangle.
Area.
Area of the
The surplus the consumers. Now, why we have put this up in the form of a graph? Because this is on a larger level. This is happening on a marketplace. Okay. As you calculated individually, now this what we are doing? We are calculating for many buyers on a larger scale. Got it? In conclusion, consumer surplus is a difference between what the consumer is willing to pay and what they actually pay. I have read this sentence almost 4 to 5 times in this entire chapter. That means it is very important for you all to remember. Please underline this. Consumer surplus. Over here I read it on page 126. I also read it on page 125. Consumer surplus is the difference between, can you see below the table?
Yes, ma'am.
Mona, Bimla. Over there also the same sentence is mentioned as it is. Please underline that sentence again and again. So that
And it is very important.
Yeah, it's important because that's the formula. Basically, that's the formula for you all to calculate. Consumer surplus can be found in the area above the price and below the demand curve. Okay, consumer surplus can be calculated using the formula of the area of the triangle. Okay, so now they have these are all the conclusion that if you want to find consumer surplus, you will first calculate the difference. Secondly, you can find out the area. Please underline this also. You can, to find out the consumer surplus, you need to find out the area above the price and below the demand curve. And third way of calculating consumer surplus is that it can be calculated using the formula for area of a triangle. What is the formula for area of a triangle? Area of a triangle.
5 into
3,200.
5 into 8
No.
base
I'm
into
just
height.
asking the formula. I am not asking you start calculating. I'm just asking you what is the formula for area of a triangle.
Base into 5
Ma'am, base into
height.
base into height, ma'am.
Yes, base into height is the formula for calculating the
just
area of triangle. But here, what you all have done is the price. You have used the price. You have used the base. Base is 800 and height is 8. Can you see?
Ma'am, actually the area
Yes,
of a
ma'am.
triangle is half base height.
Area of a triangle is base into height. Just check.